Hey Legionnaires and welcome back. We're here with some more Rise of Mordor for you today, and this is a faction overview. And as you can see from the thumbnail and the title, that we're doing Isengard today. And yes, so this is going to be the next faction overview that I'm going to do. The next one after I plan to do will be Erebor, as people have been asking for it. And I had this one planned for a little while, and then obviously like the new update and stuff came out, and that's kind of like set this back a little bit. So obviously we are now having Isengard, and then we will have Erebor next. But yes, so we will be going through the infantry first, then we'll probably be going on to like shock infantry and like other special units, and we've got obviously some of their them going on to like archers and cavalry after. So that is how it will probably start off. So we'll obviously start from the poorest infantry and work our way up. So here we have the Mordor rabble. Mordor rabble are a very just numerous number of infantry, over 300 of them, and they're a light melee infantry unit. We'll get their stats up now. As you can see, they have very little in the way of like armor down there at 5. I mean, their melee attack is also just like pretty poor at 21, melee damage 25. Their morale at 28, I mean, that's not that great either. Once this unit's like lost about 50-60 men, often I find it like wavering and wanting to break. Their speed's actually quite good. At 38, I mean, they're pretty quick because they've got like no armor on them. But yeah, this unit just basically is just usually you're going to use this unit probably to just to basically push up rams or just to soak up fire while the rest of your army gets into position. So really, it's just a throwaway unit. It doesn't cost a lot. Honestly, you'd probably just, yeah, like I said, spending it just to basically use up the enemy's arrows. So that is probably the Mordor rabble, I'd say, just summed up there and then. Next, we have the Dunland Tribesmen. Dunland Tribesmen, also a like very light unit. Another lever unit. These guys actually have some positives. They actually have good melee defense. I guess a big shield here gives them some sort of protection. They have slightly better melee attack and melee damage at 32 with that big cleaver. I guess that probably would do some damage. Looks like they just got that straight out of the butchers. Have a slightly more armor as well at 15, but not really going to stop any sort of like concentrated fire from archers. They still have a relatively large unit at 190 as well, showing that it's just kind of relying on numbers and not quality. Morale is slightly better at 36, and their speed is still also 38 because of that low armor. They are able to move pretty damn quickly. And yeah, their melee defense is actually at 40, which I'm kind of surprised, but again, I guess it's that shield that kind of just really helps them there. Then the next unit is going to be the Urukai Scouts here. We have the Urukai Raiders, sorry. I think they've changed their name since the new update. But yeah, so these guys are kind of like the first like decent unit that you're probably going to bring in a siege battle or just like in a land battle. Is the Urukai Raiders. These guys look really cool. These are the sort of guys that were in the Fellowship of the Ring, led by Lurtz and hunting down the Fellowship. And yeah, this unit is a light melee infantry as well. Has 190 men in it, so it's still relying kind of on numbers, but it has good stats. I mean, it has good melee defense, good melee attack, average missile block chance, as you can see there. So all greens. That's really good for that. Its melee attack is also significantly better from that of like the Mordor rabble at 31. Its melee damage is at 36, which I think is ever so slightly better than like the Dunland. Like yeah, Dunland down at 32, so it's only slightly better in like melee damage, surprisingly. But and then its charge bonus 20. I mean, yeah, no surprise there for infantry. Melee defense at 40. So again, not like much better than the Dunland, like the Dunland Raiders and like with their 40. The armor at 45. So you are seeing a significant increase now in armor, though. That is the difference between these guys and the Dunland Tribesmen. And the morale at 43. So now we are starting to see some significant sort of improvements in morale. These guys are going to stand and actually fight for quite a while. Health at 80 as well is not bad at all. And their speed's still at 36. This is still a quick moving unit. So with the extra armor and morale and stuff like that, this unit is probably what you want to be bringing in as like your cheapest unit to the battlefield, because it's still really quick, but it is also really well, fairly well armored in comparison to the previous two units. Anyway, we will move on to the next unit, which the next unit is going to be your mainline infantry for sure. It is the famous Urukai infantry here. Look at these guys, look awesome, they really do. I mean, look at like Armor is thick, as Gimli would say. They're well disciplined. Look at that. That's just a face only a mother could love, sort of thing. But yeah, this unit is going to be your mainline infantry. This is your trained infantry. I mean, actually, so are the Urukai scouts or raiders. They are also trained, but their melee attack is at 37. Melee damage is at 36. I mean, I think they're using the same weapon as the raiders, so that's probably why their melee damage is the same. Their melee attack is slightly better. Melee defense is incredibly much better. Like 52 is really good there. This unit is like well armored. It's going to have like a pretty decent defense. Its armor is still at 80, which is pretty good. Obviously much better than the scouts and everything before it. And then its health is still at 80. So I mean, it's I guess that's just like the bog standard for an Uruk. Its morale at 47, and its speed, as you can see, at 30. And so it's slightly slower, but its missile block chance is also at 45, so it's doing quite well. And it's excellent armor, excellent melee defense, average missile block chance. So this is a really solid unit. It's like going to hold a long time, and yeah, you can't go wrong with this unit really at all. And then the final sword unit, best till last, is this unit here, the White Hand Stormers. This unit can be brought as a general. Well, you need to bring it as a general, and then you can bring 2 others. So you are limited to 3, but this is the unit that is like your most elite swords. You can see with a big shield, this unit is not going anywhere. And I love like the sort of like the look to it, like the Centurion sort of like helmet kind of going on it. Really awesome. Do love it. But yeah, so this unit is like kind of like, I mean, to me it always reminds me of like White Hand Stormers. It should be the first thing going through the breach because it's got a big shield and like lots and lots of armor and stuff like that. So like you're gonna send these guys in first. They're gonna be like the shock before you send in like the masses of like then just lower tier like Uruks, for instance. But often it's seen as being used as like a last ditch thing to send in. It's very elite. It's kind of obviously how you play in Total War. You don't send your best in first. You send your worst in and work your way up. So like the defenses are weakened for when the real sucker punches arrive. But as you can see here, this unit. Melee attack at 44, melee damage at 36, so he's got same sort of melee damage again, because again it's using just the same sword that the previous 2 units have been using. Melee attack is slightly better at 44, and melee defense down at 44, sorry, which is actually lower than the Urukai infantry, I just realised, which is kind of surprising because these guys probably are more heavily armoured and stuff like that. Armour is up there at 115, so it is going to like take a lot to kill this unit, and its health is at 90, so it's got a slight increase in health. Morale is at 48, and its speed is still at 30, so it's still like fairly quick moving, like in comparison to like the Urukai infantry. So like even with the extra armor, it's still moving quite quickly. And missile block chance at 85. So I mean, this unit, if it gets hit by a missile, it's probably going to block it. You're going to need to like, you don't kill this unit with arrows, you kill it with cav, you kill it with shock infantry. Really, that's how you're going to kill it. And you can see that excellent armor, excellent missile block, excellent melee attack, just 3 excellence across the board. This unit can form test judo, shield wall, so it's like very good at stopping arrows, as I've already mentioned. But yeah, a solid unit for sure. But that is where these swords will be wrapped up. I will now be moving on to the shock infantry and other like sort of unique units at Isengard. So I'll see you guys in a moment. So we are back, and this is the shock infantry, the first shock infantry that we'll be covering. Again, like the swords will go from worst to best, and we will go from there. And I have also thrown in like a few other things with Isengard for its shock, because this is kind of like unique units that Isengard have, and they feel like they would kind of go there in a way. But this is the half orc axes here. This is the cheapest orc, well not orc, Isengard unit that you can bring. It's an orc technically, or like an Uruk. But yeah, so as you can see here, excellent melee attack, very poor missile block, very poor armor. So I mean, this has got really like, it's a very cheap shock infantry. You're going to send this in and you're expecting it to probably win its first fight and nothing more. It's a light shock infantry, as you can see there. So like I said, it's probably going to win 1 fight against swords or spears, and then probably not win a second one, because it's probably taking too many casualties, because it's probably also being shot by archers and other stuff. But as you can see there, it's got like 190 men, so it's still a really large unit. I actually don't know whether like Isengard have had like an increase in unit size. I think they might have with the new update. But like melee attack at 39, melee damage at 39. So that's like the bog standard for a shock infantry now with Isengard, as you can see. That's what you got to remember now is the basic stats. Charge bonus is 25. I would expect that kind of maybe to be a little bit higher because it's a shock infantry, but maybe not. Melee defense, as you can see there at 23. This big axe that's obviously holding, not going to be able to defend yourself with that really. Using that mainly on the offense, and obviously their armor is down at 25. As you can see, they are not really wearing much apart from like some leather armor. They are not really wearing like any plate armor like the more heavily armored Uruk infantry. Health at 80, which we have decided that's just a basic for Uruks. And as you can see here, morale at 43, which is pretty good, and speed at 36, so it's still a fast-moving unit, and it's kind of up there with like the Orc Rabble and the Raiders as like a fast-moving unit. So yeah, this is certainly something you'd send in first. Like you send this shock infantry in first after maybe like some poor infantry. You still want to keep your shock in reserve, not send it in first because it's obviously very, very handy. It can often break through a choke point. But you would be sending this unit in first before you send in the next unit, which I will be showing you, which is the Berserkers. The Berserkers here, as you can see, looking glorious as ever. Another face that only a mother could love there. But this unit looks amazing. It really, really does. Obviously, like the famous unit that fought at like Helm's Deep, taking out elves left, right, and center, blowing. I mean, it was a Berserker that blew a hole in the wall of the Hornburg as well. So we will we'll cover this unit now. This is the more elite shock infantry. It's very heavy shock compared to the light shock that you had with the half orcs, as you saw there. But yeah, this is a melee attack of 48, melee damage of 49, so it's incredibly much better. It's like so much better than the half orc in that sense. Still has excellent melee attack, very poor missile block chance, and very poor armor. As you can see, it's even got less armor than the half orcs though. So like it's weirdly got like a lot of heavy. It's like heavy shock, but it's got less armor, which is really weird for obviously like for Rise of Mordor. You can see a charge bonus still at 25. I'm kind of surprised that they don't put it up a little bit for shock infantry, but there you go. They'll have their reasons. Melee defense is at 40. Is slightly better than well, it's actually nearly double like the half orc one, but again, this big like double-handed sword is not really purpose for blocking. It's merely for being offensive. Armor at 25. No surprise there, with literally just wearing nothing but like a loincloth. Health is 120, so it can take a lot of hits. So that's the thing. These guys are just enraged and want to just kill stuff. They're just bloodthirsty. They don't care about themselves. They don't care about being hit by a few arrows. They'll carry on. And their morale's at 261. So this is one of the few units that in any faction across Rise of Mordor is unbreakable. This unit will fight to the last man. So it is down at 50 men. It was at like 80, I think. So they've reduced the size even more. But yeah, so this is a very, very elite unit. We'll fight to the last man. So you're going to get the use out of every single man until they all get cut down. The speed's at 36. So again, it's a very fast-moving unit because it's got no armor. The next unit I'm going to throw in with this is also very similar to the Berserkers, and that is the Sappers. So yeah, the reason obviously I'm throwing these guys in is, well, they are kind of just a Berserker, just with a bomb on their back instead. Obviously, I already mentioned Berserkers were the ones responsible for blowing up the wall at Helm's Deep. So I felt like just throwing this in along with the shock infantry is kind of obviously like kind of apt. And also, I mean, it's not, you wouldn't use it as a shock infantry. I will just just say now, you would not use this unit as a shock infantry. As you can see, it is like very much a specialist. It's kind of like an artillery, basically. You're going to use this to blow a hole in a wall. It's kind of like just the purpose of it. You can also use it to like blow a hole in a unit. So you could run it up to a unit and you can attack and you can blow up a unit. I've seen it happen. And it's very effective. It's a good way to use it. You won't want to use this for anything else. It's only got 12 men in a unit. You're not going to win any combats with it. It's going to be just wanting to be blow. You just want to blow stuff up with it. Excellent accuracy, apparently, which I hope so. You're literally running with the bomb on your back at an object or a person. So I mean, you can't miss. Melee attack is actually at 44 and melee damage is at 27. So it's actually got pretty good melee attack. Melee damage not so much. It hasn't got like, it's just got like a little dagger. It was not really a dagger. It's like kind of like a sword, but not really. A small sword. And as you can see, melee defense at 40, so it's pretty good. Armor at 25, which is no surprise, having literally, again, nothing to protect it, same as the Berserker. And also, we have health at 120, so it can take a few hits. It's like the average Uruk was, like, health is at 80. This one's like 120. It's also unbreakable. It's another unit that's unbreakable. 261 morale. And the missile damage there, as you can see, 1,970. When this unit blows something up, it blows it up. Like, a wall is coming down if this thing blows up. In one of my previous like sieges, we saw this happen. Ammunition is 1. Obviously, it's just got 1 bomb. That's it. Accuracy is at 50, which I would have thought you'd put that at like 100 or something like that, maybe, if it's got excellent accuracy, just so it can never miss. But I guess it could miss, in theory, I guess. There is still, like, part of the bar is not full, and I guess excellent accuracy is not perfect accuracy, so I guess you could miss, in theory. But yeah, so that is the White Hand Sappers there, and they are, like, a very interesting unit to use. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting unit that I just threw in with the Shock Infantry, because, well, they're very similar to the Berserkers in some ways. But now I'm going to move on to the next couple of units, so I'll see you guys in a moment. The Urukai Pikes, like another very iconic unit from like Two Towers. You see like the pikes in the air chanting as they're like chanting away and stuff like that, which I'm kind of surprised how an Uruk can lift a pike that high, but I guess they're pretty strong, so maybe they can. But yes, this is the Urukai Pikes, a very heavily armored phalanx unit that is very, very useful for a siege battle to kind of like force its way through a choke point if it needs to. And it, yeah, probably one of the most heavily armored pike units in the Rise of Mordor mod at the moment, I'd say. Kind of up there probably with maybe like the Noldorian nobles that have been recently added, I would certainly say. And maybe the Fountain Guards for Gondor as well are fairly heavily armored. But yeah, so we'll now have a quick look at these stats. I mean, look at that unit as well. I mean, Urukai do not have the looks, but like that. Yeah, this unit at 160, like again, a very, very large unit. Its melee attack is at 27. I mean, it is a pike unit, so it's not really like you don't do much like attacking. You kind of just move forward with the pikes. You do obviously get kills, but you're kind of almost just kind of being an inconvenience as a pike, not really being like an offensive unit. You're moving the unit forward with other units like swords or spears or whatever, and you're trying to just force back the defenders from a choke point because they can't eventually hold it, because the pikes will eventually kill them. Like, it's an attritional unit, like weapon, I find, that you poke away and slowly you eventually kill stuff. Melee damage, as you can see, is down at 18. It's not going to kill stuff instantly, like I've just been saying. It's like an attritional weapon. You're going to just, it'll take a few stabs maybe to kill someone, unless they're a weakened unit. Melee defense is at 27, which I'm kind of surprised about. I thought it maybe would be a little bit higher. Pike is more of a defensive unit, I always find. You find them obviously being used very defensively in sieges, as well as offensively, in fairness. But yeah, I would have thought that'd be a little bit higher. Armor down at 60, which is actually, I mean, that's actually quite good, to be fair. I said down, that's actually quite good for Urukai. I think that's higher than quite a lot of the other units, certainly higher than some of the lower tier swords and all the shock that we've seen. And so this unit is probably very much incomparable. It's slightly more heavily armored than the Urukai infantry. But yeah, so it's going to take a few shots to take this unit out. You want to be shooting in the back, probably, not head on. Because it can take a few hits. As you can see, it's got its helmet, it's got its like plate armor on the front, but only on the back it's got chainmail, so that's probably where you want to shoot. It's where it's weakest. Health at 80, which we've said is a standard thing. Morale is 44, which is not bad, and its speed is 30, and missile block is 35, so it's got a chance of blocking stuff, but as it's a pike, it has low missile block. I'm kind of surprised it doesn't have like lower, to be honest, as a pike. To be honest, it's got good armor, good melee attack, and good melee defense. I mean, surprised it's got good melee attack and defense, since looking at those stats, I would have thought that maybe it needed to be a little bit higher to say that, but maybe not, apparently. But yeah, so that is the pike unit. And now I'm going to move on to the archers, which are next on the list. So here we go, the archers are here, and we are starting with the Mordor rabble. As we started with the Mordor rabble when it came to swords, we now start with them when it comes to bows. And as you can see here, this unit is, well, it's still pretty damn, like, low tier sort of thing. It's not going to be doing anything. It relies on numbers again. 300 orcs in a unit. And it's just got very poor accuracy, very poor armor, very poor missile block chances. You can see there, it's not going to be doing a lot of damage. It's, again, probably a unit that you're just using. I mean, probably the sheer number of arrows will do damage to stuff. But it is also just a unit that you want the enemy to waste ammo on, probably. Or just to annoy the enemy. It's not really going to get you kills. It's kind of just like a cheap out option that you would bring. You wouldn't really want to bring this as your main archers, really. But as you can see there, range at 150 is not bad, but it is lower than most like archer units, certainly like your Gondor bows and most of your elven like Noldorian archers and stuff, which are like up at about like 200 plus in range. Melee attack and stuff like that obviously very low. Health down at 60. This thing's gonna, like, if they get hit, they're going down. Armor, as you can see, as well, 5. So yeah, this unit's gonna get vaporized, which is why it's such a large unit. Morale is down at 22, so this unit's probably gonna break as well pretty quickly after it's lost a significant amount of men. So yeah, that is the Mordor Rabble bow. There's not really much to say about it, to be honest. Its accuracy is actually at 0. I've just realised it's 0 accuracy, so this unit's probably not killing anything at all. It certainly is very poor accuracy. So we'll move on from that as soon as that happens. Urukai Archers now. This unit actually I find getting brought more and more by players in a siege battle, to be honest. Like, because obviously, when we come on to the next unit that the Isengard Archers have, you probably realise that a lot of players like to prefer to bring this unit instead. And yeah, the Urukai Archers are pretty damn useful, I find. They're not too bad, to be honest. I mean, as you can see, the accuracy at 20, it's still very poor. Well, it's not, it's poor accuracy. It's got very poor armor and it's got very poor missile block chance. But these guys are actually, they used to be anyway, and they probably still are quite good. They're at 190, so again, they are kind of relying on numbers. Their health is at 90, missile, as we've already been over, missile block chance at 10. So, I mean, if this unit's getting hit, it's not going to take long to kill it. Its morale is at 30, ammunition, yeah, same. Range down at 150 as well. So, I mean, again, range for like this unit is much lower than, say, like the Gondorian and Elven units. I guess it's kind of like something that they're bringing in for evil factions that they're going to have low. They're going to have to get closer to do damage. But it's a trained unit compared to the Levy Mordor Rabble, and it is a light bow. So I mean, it's like going to be able to move. It's quite quick moving. But yeah, it is quite a good unit. I certainly find that a lot of people like to bring the Urukai Archer because then you can then fire over walls and you can hit stuff that you can't necessarily in the line of sight, which as we come on to the next unit now, this unit relies on line of sight. I mean, it is a very, very good unit. This is the Urukai crossbows. The Urukai crossbows, obviously being a crossbow unit, not a bow unit, have to rely on line of sight, which is what I was just kind of going with. That's why I'm seeing players in sieges bringing more Urukai bows, or maybe bringing half of both. So you have some Urukai crossbows for like the direct armor piercing shots, and then you have Urukai archers for those looping shots over walls or over streets to hit stuff, because a crossbow can't do that. It has to shoot directly. It's like almost like a gun, basically. But yeah, so this is a heavily armored archer unit, as you can see here. Good armor, has average accuracy, poor melee defense though. As you can see there, I mean, armor at 60, it's pretty good. It's up there with the pikes and the Urukai infantry. So this unit's like going to take a while to kill it. It's not really worth actually having a skirmish off with it, because you're probably going to lose if you're like firing just directly at each other. Because A, this is a crossbow. It's got good armor piercing, or it should. And it's also like they've got really good armor. So this unit's just like insanely good at taking arrows, and also probably like fighting in combat for a certain amount of time. It'd probably do okay. If you sent it in with something else, it would do alright. As you can see there, range at 125. So I mean, its range is also reduced. It's not like a bow. It needs to get closer. And yeah, its ammunition actually is slightly lower as well. It's at 18, while everyone else is at 24 ammunition. So you are taking a slight ammunition hit when you are using this unit. But it's a solid unit, and you're going to probably do a lot of damage with it. And you want to bring this for certainly more heavily armored elite units for sure. But yeah, that is the final archer unit. I'm now going to move on to the cavalry over here, which is the only cavalry unit that is available for Isengard, and that is the Dunlending Horse Skirmishers, or Horse Raiders, I believe they're called. This is Skirmisher Cavalry. This is it as the moment. I think they do plan to add wargs at some point, but I've done this obviously before wargs have been added. They are in like Petrello, I believe, and they're like potentially going to get done. But yes, at the moment this is the only unit available. Wargs will probably be like a melee cavalry, and while this is a skirmish cavalry, so obviously the Dunlendings, like allies of the Isengard, and they provide the cavalry, which is just some very light skirmish cavalry. It's got very poor armor, poor accuracy, poor melee attack. It's all you're going to do for this unit is throw javelins and stuff and harass stuff. You probably don't want to send this in anywhere that's near archers. It's going to get vaporized, and you certainly don't want to send this unit into combat. It's going to take heavy casualties. Its speed is at 90, so it's really quick. It's up there with like the elves, like cavalry being some of the quickest cavalry in the game. Range at 60, so you're going to get really close if you want to throw these javelins. I mean, it is a man on a horse throwing javelins. It's going to be pretty inaccurate as well, as you can see down at 17. They only have 6 ammunition because it's a javelin. You can't really carry many. Its health is 130 though, so it's, you know, it can take a few hits, but not many. Probably maybe one volley, and then the second volley is going to start taking people out. Its health, its armor, sorry, is at 15. So yeah, once again, if it's getting hit, it's going to start dying pretty quickly. It has 95 men in a unit because, again, because it's not a good unit, it relies on quantity. And that's kind of really all to say about it. Melee defense is actually okay at 37. It's probably one of the other like stats that I'd probably like take out of that. That's like, well, that's quite good. But yeah, there's not really much else to it that I'd say that would really good. It's probably, yeah, like I said, something that you want to use when there's no archers around, and maybe just like to harass the back lines of a combat. If you've got like your Urukai infantry fighting, say, Gondorian infantry, have this unit throwing jabbies into the back, might be a really good asset, and then you could, I guess, have it rear charge after, and that might help turn the battle against that Gondorian infantry unit, for instance. But yeah, that's certainly how I use it. But anyway, that is where I'm going to wrap up the Isengard unit overview. I hope you guys have enjoyed. It's certainly been fun to do, and I hope this has been informative. Maybe gives you a few ideas on some ideas for some like rosters. I am going to quickly do some rosters, I think, and just like show them off. If I haven't put them like here now, I'll probably just do a clip and for me like making some rosters at the end. But yeah, so I hope you guys have like enjoyed looking at all the stats. I'm now going to go into some rosters. I'd use for maybe sieges, or maybe for land battles. So if you want to see them, then stick around for that. Okay, so here we are on the roster build, on like the army builder, something that I kind of like to do at the end to give you some sort of an idea of what I would use if I was playing with Isengard. So I've got the on custom funds, and we just usually use about 20,000 when we're playing our siege battles on the Discord. So that's the funds I'm going to go with. Obviously, if you use different funds, then like that's fair enough. Usually, you can probably keep the same sort of ratios of units, and like with the amount of money. So if you're using less money, you can probably bring similar sorts of ratio, sort of like infantry and archers and stuff like that. But anyway, we will get on. If we were doing like a siege battle, I would probably bring, obviously you've got to bring a white hand storm as a general. That is our only general at the moment. I'd probably then just bring Urukai infantry. I don't personally bring the Urukai raiders. If you would bring it was a lower like spending, like a lower fund game, then I would certainly bring these guys. But I would probably bring maybe 6 to 7 Urukai infantry. I'd then obviously bring my other 2 white hand stormers. I would then probably bring maybe 2 pikes. I feel like the pikes are always very useful in this game. I would probably then bring 2 Urukai crossbows, 2 Urukai archers. Then certainly be bringing my berserkers. And then I'd probably just use the last of my money, the 600, for, if I wasn't bringing an artillery piece, I'd probably bring, probably just upgrade my berserkers just a lot. Make these guys very, very elite. As you can see, they're now very, very elite. And then I'd probably just upgrade my general a little bit. That would be something I could do. Obviously, you could change this out. You could get rid of one of your berserkers, and then you could bring down their like upgrades. And you could bring yourself an artillery piece, and then you could upgrade your berserkers again a little bit. That's another option. That's like they're the 2 sort of things I'd do. It depends how I like want to play. If I'm just going to try and overwhelm the enemy with towers and stuff like that, I would probably just get rid of the onager, and I would bring the like the berserker. Also, it like depends on the map. Like sometimes you have like other maps and stuff, so you might want to change out. I would maybe change out one of the pikes, and then I bring maybe one of like the half orcs or something like that instead. Just have like a cheaper like shock infantry. It's still really good. Or there's a few obviously alternatives. You may not want to play with pikes. You may not like fancy them, so you want to bring maybe more like shock infantry or whatever. It depends on the rules as well. It depends what rules you're using. But if I was going to do a pitch battle, then I would probably, obviously, we would change this. We would obviously start with a general. I'd probably again bring my 6 or 7 Urukai infantry. I'd then bring my other 2 Wyand stormers. They're kind of a given. Probably would bring all 3 berserkers, definitely. I would probably bring pikes. Again, very dicey to use in a pitch battle. Certainly, I feel like they're a bit more secure when using in a siege, because if you put them in like a street, they can't really get flanked as easily as they can in land battle because of cav. Isengard is a pretty tough faction to bring in a land battle because it has a lack of cav. I would possibly bring some Dunland, like horse raiders, just to maybe give myself some mobility, but really, I don't really like playing Isengard. It's just end of on a land battle. Doesn't really work. And then I'll probably just bring like 3 Urukai crossbows. Actually, I can't even do that. There you go. So maybe I would get rid of one of them. I'd probably keep my Berserkers. Berserkers is just so good in this game. That is actually probably what I'd bring then. So we'd have my 3 White Stormers. I'd have 6 Urukai Infantry, 3 Berserkers, 2 Urukai Pikes, 3 Urukai Crossbows, and 2 Dunlanding Horse Raiders. I feel like Berserkers, you could obviously cheap them out and bring like some half-orc axes instead. But I always like to bring Berserkers. As I mentioned, there's a unit of 50. Every single man's going to fight to the death. So, like, it's not going to break. So it's such a key unit, I think, in that essence to bring it. But yeah, so that is the Isengard overview. I completed now. If you've enjoyed it, then do remember to leave a like, subscribe if you're around here, and a comment to show your support. If you want to see more Rise of Mordor unit overviews, let me know in the comments. Like I said, Erebor will be next on the list to be done, and then I plan to do Gondor, though there are a few new units for Gondor that may be coming into the game, so I am waiting on the units and from the dev team, so I can then add them to the video, because I don't want to do an incomplete Gondor, because then just have to do another one. So there you go. That is the Isengard unit overview. If you enjoyed, do remember, like I said, leave a like, subscribe if you're on it, and a comment support. Join the Discord as well for Rise Mordor, both Rise Mordor and my own. Links for them will be in the description. And until next time, Legionnaires, I will see you in the next one.